Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I am your host, Scott Knudsen, with a very special guest. She's an educator, she's an entrepreneur, and she has a PhD in chemistry. Piper Klemm. Piper, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you're very busy. So we're going to try and cover as much as we can in our short amount of time today. So what kind of got you into the horse world and specifically into the hunter jumper world?
I loved horses from the very beginning. I come from a non-horse family. My mom opened up the phone book and found a barn in the Yellow Pages when I was growing up. I grew up on the East Coast, and it was a very English riding community. I don't think I knew anyone riding Western growing up. And so that influenced that. And I did pony club, and I think that was such a great experience because I got to do everything. I got to do dressage. I got to do 3-day eventing and all different things, but kind of antithetical to my personality, I found my love in the hunter ring because I think it is such a challenge. I'm not really type A in many other things. I'm kind of like, let's make a mess type type B person who's creative and not organized, but the hunters are just such a challenge because it's all about perfection and beauty. Absolutely. And organization, and I will do this my whole life and never achieve it, and that's really interesting to me.
That's so awesome. I'm already off topic, but it's so cool because people watching or listening today, they might not have a horse or even know where to start. You just jumped in, found a barn, went to one of the hardest competitive classes there is.
Yep. And I keep at it all the time because there's, with the horses, like you think you have one thing figured out, they find something else
absolutely
to challenge you with.
That's so awesome. That's such a great story, that you found your way into the industry. And that's an inspiration to so many people that want to be in the industry. And now they may have heard from someone that can. So PhD, so you have a PhD in chemistry. So did you find chemistry or did chemistry find you?
A little bit of both. I actually took a break from riding. I didn't see a pathway for myself, and I worked really hard, and I was a working student, and I was around, immeasurable wealth as a teenager, and it's hard to handle all that stuff sometimes. And we all know we have to be in the sport for the right reasons and for the horses. And I got to a point where, I didn't see how to achieve that for myself. And then I had a lot of pressures for traditional education. Both my parents are professors. They supported me, but they never really understood the horse thing. They didn't see how that could translate into a career. And so that's something I'm really passionate now, is like showing people real jobs and real careers and real ways to be part of this sport that are attainable for people. So I took a break in college and grad school. Collegiate riding wasn't what it is now. I think the opportunity that has come up since I was that age would have changed my life, between the emerging athletes program. Like, we have so much stuff. And then with social media, you have access to knowledge, but I didn't really see how to get the knowledge that I didn't have. And, I didn't see that if I put the years in, it would have been there for me. Mm-hmm. And that's also something I really want to counsel young people about, is that it is there for you, and you do have to put the years in, but it can be there for you. And I just didn't see that at that age. So I took a break and I really focused on school, and all the same things that make you a great horse person make you excel academically. Absolutely. That discipline. I never procrastinated. I would look around and like, no, you can't procrastinate at the barn if you don't get your stuff done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can't dawdle around the barn. And when you apply that to life skills with other people who, aren't as good at just kind of rallying themselves and getting moving, these are all skills that we use all the time in the real world. And the horses are very unforgiving. And when you apply that somewhere else, it's not hard to excel academically.
Right. It applies to different businesses for sure. But it's just getting something done and doing the steps every single time, and you can't skip a step, whether you're training a horse or you're doing something else in the business world. So that's so cool.
And science is the same way, and going out there and forging with the unknown, doing research and trying to get peer-reviewed publications. Like, a lot of it's the same puzzle process as making up a young horse and going to the barn.
That's so cool, the correlation there. That's so awesome. So you teach 3 classes, is
Yep.
that correct? At Clarkson?
Yep.
So if somebody is watching this, they're like, man, I really want to get in the industry. I really want to learn from Piper. How can I do it? So how would they find you? And kind of let's talk a little bit about your classes if you can.
Yeah. So the Plaid Horse, I'm the publisher of the print magazine, and we do a weekly podcast. So we have a lot going on there. And for many years, I supervised interns. It was always a big part for me giving back, and all of these things that we talked about, really making people see how they can be part of the industry and how they can make it work for themselves. And so over time, I started to miss teaching, doing the Plaid Horse all the time. And then with the interns, I got to a point where honestly, I really wanted to assign them to do the reading. I would give them readings and stuff. And
Oh man.
I wanted them to, and I get it, like school always comes first, and these kids are so burning the candles at both ends, and they're working so hard and so much on their plate, and like what gets cut? Well, the reading you're doing for fun, I get it. And I thought, if we can legitimize what they're doing into an actual class, it helps legitimize what they're doing into an actual career. So I started working with Clarkson, and they have a great entrepreneurship program, and they've been really open to it. I came with this grand idea, and they've never had any classes in their history that are just open to everyone. And I said, that's a deal breaker for me. These have got to be open to assistant trainers or parents. We get a lot of parents sign up. We have students in high school, a couple talented middle schoolers, and really like start this process at a different stage. And of course, we have current college students and transfer students, students getting transfer credit, but really making it open to everyone, legitimate, hard, valuable college courses, and addressing all the things that I see real world in the industry. And like I buy and sell horses. I have a lease business for pony hunters. Like I am out there, aside from current times, I typically go to 50 horse shows a year of all different levels. I'm out there doing it. And it's hard because academia respects people with academic credentials. And there are very few horse people with academic credentials. Right. And that gap is hard to bridge, explaining to academics why they should respect horse people that do not have credentials that they respect. And so I really saw this as a way that we can validate all of the hard work so many young people do at the barn, but it's hard to convey that on a college application. It's hard to get people who have a certain value system. Academics have a very specific value system, putting it in their language so that they can value the entire investment that people are making in horses. I think, it's one step towards bridging that gap.
Absolutely. It's a big step. And I think it can be bridged because I know the universities want to educate, and people that are out there in the field can help do that. And then you have 2 people of knowledge helping that one person. It just makes sense.
Yep.
It is so important for not only our industry, but just education in general. That's where I start getting excited, because I love people that want to learn and then progress their careers. And I think by doing what you're doing is so important, and using, not working with interns, but also just going to the educational side.
Yep. And I still I have open office hours that people can schedule time to meet with me. I really believe that people starting businesses and they have questions. We deal so much in kind of coded language in the horse industry, and there's stuff that everyone knows ostensibly, but there's no way to find that information. And there's so much stuff that I know that I don't know enough to write an article, but I know,
Right.
And so, I really think office hours, class, all of this stuff are valuable times to share that knowledge that I'm happy to share, but, it's not going to withstand to, a lawyer read or going up on the website.
Well, it's so good for somebody to be able to go into your office or call you or take a class, and you're out there doing it and still apply to the college. That's wonderful that they're doing that. And our industry is so huge, but people don't know how to get in. And like you, they looked in the yellow pages. There's ways to get in, and they might take your class. That might be the toe in the water, so to speak, to get them to get into the industry.
Absolutely. And when I was growing up, I subscribed to the Chronicle and Practical Horseman and stuff, but never occurred to me how the magazines got put together. And
Yeah,
that's such a,
yeah.
but it never occurred to me that someone is doing every step of this magazine process. And I think that we obsess over who's riding or who's, training, but we don't always show people all the different careers and options of how many vendors and course designers and stewards and braiders and grooms and how many people are at the horse show.
It's an incredible feat. It's not just a trainer, like you say. It's the photographers, and there's so many ways to get into the industry and be successful. And doing the classes with you and talking to other people that are successful in the industry, that's the way to get in and be successful for sure. So Piper, so tell us a little bit more. So we're talking about getting people into the industry, and I love that. And I love that. I know that's one of your passions, is to bring people into the industry and educate them and help them find their way. So where do you find people that are coming into the industry? Is it just different avenues, different people?
Yeah, I think this is a scary point for our industry. I think the older generation got their start at pony rides and
Right.
driving by the barn and having barns kind of and horses exist in daily life a little bit more, maybe knowing someone who rides. We're a very siloed community right now. Land prices, there's so many factors have driven barns further and further away from cities. Most people live in cities.
Right.
This is a challenge. Most people are not going by a horse farm on their way to school or work and might get interested.
Right.
There are fewer and fewer pony rides and riding academies and lesson barns and fewer places starting people. So I think that is something scary that we all need to be cognizant of. One of the things that I think also, so many people quit riding. I quit riding. I didn't see where things were going. I came back. Some people come back, some people don't. But really talking to people, having that support group and making people feel welcome has been huge. And I've talked to so many people over the years that we do a ton of articles on everyone is welcome, like no matter what you look like, no matter
Those are great.
what you have going on. And so many people have come up to me over the years of, I was afraid to come back to riding, but your communities and stuff made me feel really supported to come back. And you do a quick back of the envelope calculation, and when someone's not riding at all, they're not buying anything. They're not buying helmets. They're not buying saddles and bridles and breeches and all this stuff. And even the occasional rider is buying all the gear. The person who gets swept back up in it, it's, as we all know, easy to spend a fortune in this sport.
Absolutely, it is.
And that sustains everyone. It sustains the trainers and the horse shows and the vets and the farriers and the blacksmiths, and every aspect of our sport is sustained by every person who comes back in. So I think really we can all go out of our way to make everyone feel welcome in this sport. I think we are traditionally bad at that as horse people.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of unwelcoming tendencies that I think are bred in the competition environment that are just not necessary. We're all fighting our own battles. Our biggest competitor is ourselves. It's each other is not the competition here. So I think keeping people in the sport is huge, and then welcoming people as you can, as you see opportunities. If you're at work and you can invite your work colleagues or your school friends or anybody out to the barn, I encourage everyone to come out to the barn. People I can get out to the barn, I encourage everyone to go for a pony ride. I'm really all about, getting people in whatever safe vehicle as involved as they can, because I found that a lot of people just need that one ride or one or two rides, and they're like, oh, this is, and that's the equivalent of the pony ride from the last generation. But it doesn't matter if you give a pony ride to a 50-year-old woman and she starts riding, that's amazing for the sport.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And my mom has never ridden, and she always kind of wanted to, and I never really had the right horse and stuff for her. So she actually came out to the barn in April, and my horse is at an age and a maturity level that he was ready for that. And she's 74, and she rode him around at the walk.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she's like, I want a horse show. There's one horse show that has an adult walk class, and she's like, I want to do it. And
That is great.
you think about how much horses give all of us. I want everyone to have that, and we should all want everyone to have that. And how can we get them more into our lives? And even if they're not riding, can you get people out to the barn to groom or be around horses, or pet them? I think it's we all want to make grand things, and I think if everyone could do a simple gesture, it would make like a huge difference in our sport.
It really will. We have people that come out to the house, they don't want to ride at all, but they want to take pictures, or they want like being around it, and that's great. Just come on and do it and encourage them, and who knows, they might show up at a show and enjoy it and do more, so it's so important.
I had the opportunity to ride with Brianna Noble, who's the Oakland cowgirl, and she took me into Oakland riding. And so we had the horse trailer parked on the side of the street and unloaded the horses in this neighborhood, and people came out of their homes in the neighborhood and wanted to pet them. And just like you said, take pictures with the horses. Some of them were a little afraid, because they were so big, and then kind of got over that and took pictures. And to be part of the community is amazing. And things like that, I think are so cool. And people trying to get the horses where the people are, because cities are where people, predominantly live in this country. And so, you bring them out into Muhammad at some level.
Absolutely, you do. Absolutely. That's really cool. That had to be a cool experience.
It was unbelievable. In the Bay Area there, we rode up on the ridges and the hills and looked over the whole San Francisco Bay, and it was unreal.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So the Plaid Horse, let's talk about the Plaid Horse. So it's a podcast, you have your magazine, your classes, Plaid Horse /class. So can you tell us a little bit about it and what it encompasses?
Yep. So the Plaid Horse existed before I bought it. I bought it it was established in 2003, and I bought it in 2014. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I jumped in. The day I bought it, I called my parents, and my dad was like, "You realize print is dying, right?"
Oh no.
And I was like, and he's not wrong on the general sense, and the general trend since then. But I started, so when I finished my PhD, I was really burned out, and I decided that I was going to do something to not be burned out. And everyone asked me what I wanted to do, and I hadn't even been to a horse show in a while, but I was like, I'm going to go to Thermal for the entire winter circuit and not do anything. And because I had like been to pieces of circuits in the past, but I knew there was something that you're missing by just not seeing the whole thing to start to finish. And I just wanted to see it. And everyone thought I was crazy. And my then boyfriend, now husband, was like, sure, whatever. I was like, I'll see you in 8 weeks. Bye. And so I rented a little place, and I went down there. And by the end of the first week, I was bored to tears. I'd never really lived on the West Coast. I didn't know anyone. And, I was like, watch the horse show. But, again, when it's not personal, it's a totally different experience. So, right. And I had no like purpose. And I happened to be on Facebook, and someone posted like that one of the publications was looking for someone to cover the Grand Prix. And I'd never done any journalism like that, but I was like, well, I can do that. Why not? And it was a complete light bulb moment when I talked to the Grand Prix riders, because I'd been looking for this knowledge and this education my whole life. And all these people were like, oh my God, annoying girl, please leave me alone. And instead it was like, oh, of course I want to talk to you about why I did 5 strides instead of 6 strides in that line. Like, of course I want to talk to the press. And I was like, oh, this is education. Like, other people are viewing this as something else, but like my education lens, I was like, this is how we bring education to the people. Social media was just getting started. And I started working with other people, and quickly found that I don't, as with most things in my life, I'm not great at working with other people, because I have my own ideas on how things should be.
Right.
And I saw something, and I couldn't totally explain it to other people. And even when I could explain it, I couldn't get it across to other people. And so other people in the industry kept saying social media is just a fad, like little girl, you don't know anything about marketing. And on paper, I didn't, I'm coming from my chemistry PhD, and I had no way of knowing what social media was or wasn't, but
Right.
I saw this as an educational place. So as I did that more, I figured that, okay, I need my own thing, whatever that means, like, but I can't, I have my own ideas and my own vision and how I want to handle this. Other people don't fit in great with that. And so I also like looked like I was 12. So I was like, I need something that has a little longevity behind it. Otherwise, I'm really going to struggle.
Makes sense.
So I started calling around and for websites, magazines, all kinds of things. I was mostly looking for a website, and the woman who owned the Plaid Horse answered her phone. I called around and asked who owned it. Someone gave me her phone number. I cold called her, and I didn't read anything into it at all. When I was like, "Would you sell it?" And she was like, "Yeah, yes."
I love that about you so much, that you just go for it and you find your way.
And it was so fast. I want to say that, like, from the initial call to due diligence being done was like 5 or 6 weeks. Like,
Wow, that's quick.
I had no idea, like, and then I owned a magazine and I had like 5 weeks to put out an issue, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh my goodness.
So on the business side of things, I bought the magazine with a mortgage from the previous owner. So I made a small down payment, and then I paid monthly payments until she was completely paid off. And I interject that to say that this stuff is possible. And I knew that that was possible with her because I asked her. I said, this is what I have to put down right now. But I'm happy to work with the price that you want to work with overall. How do we make this work for both of us? And she was amenable to that, and some people would be and some people wouldn't be, and that's fair. So then I have this magazine, and I just had to figure it all out, and everything was so hard because I didn't know what I was doing. I tried not to change too much because the magazine wasn't losing money, and I knew that I could easily lose money. It was back on newspaper print. There were a lot of it was black and white, and everyone was like, make it glossy, go color. And I was like, no, we're figuring out how every aspect of this works before we're changing things. So it was a little slow going in the beginning, and slowly over time, we built the websites and the social medias and all of our educational platforms. We published books. We published the first 3 of my Show Strides book series with Rennie Dyball. And those are for young equestrians. And again, they're fun fiction reads for middle grade readers, but they're also based on my values. There's no mean girl. We're not bullying any one girl because she's rich or because she's poor or she's different. It's all about how hard this sport is and working through that, as we all do. So it's turned into so many great things. We have a nice team now that's managing other people. Did not come naturally to me. That took me a long time to get the right team in together. I realized that I had my own business because I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do, but I also had no interest in telling other people what to do.
Funny how that works.
So that's been like a very, very acquired non-native skill for me. And I'm like, just do your job. Like, I don't know.
But it works. It is a great magazine. Even if you're in other industries within the horse world, you can still read it and pick up tips and see attitudes. And I love it. I was on there yesterday reading it and looking at different stories. And some of it just flows to other parts of the industry. And but it's really well done for sure.
Thank you. Sure. And we believe horses are universal and everyone's welcome and will find their place in the industry, and wherever that place is for you. That's what's important. And the classes are the same thing. It's not about this is right or this is wrong. These are the options, and you pick what makes the most sense for your life and your family and your circumstances.
This was so great. It's so great. That's why I have so much passion about our industry, because it is so big. You can find your way if you really want to find your way. And there are people like you out there and that want to help them do that. So that's so great. So let's talk about another entrepreneur vision, lease ponies. And
Yeah.
I thought this was so cool. Do you mind just talking a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. So my parents are both business professors. And while they didn't understand the horse thing, they thought that I should learn something about this. And so before I got my first pony, I had to give them a business presentation of
Awesome.
how the pony was going to work financially and all that stuff. And my parents, being non-horse parents, got me an unbroke 2-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was like kind of the the most rough part of the plan.
Yeah.
But I made a whole presentation and a portfolio. I kept track of every expense, mileage to the barn, every blanket, every shoe, everything. And then my parents completely let me decide what was going on, which is really cool because I see so many young people that have helicopter parents, and my parents let me choose like what barn I rode at, and a lot of the schedule and the planning and the horse shows and that kind of stuff. And so I made this pony up over like years, like, this none of these steps should take this long, but like everything took me like a year.
Put some time and thought into it.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured, if I wanted it, so if I spent enough time in it, but we'd figure it out, and we did. And so she started going to shows. I showed her in the breeding classes, and then, I was the first one to ride her, and first jump, first everything, and got her up to the green ponies. And then my parents let me do whatever I want, and I started leasing her out, and leasing wasn't really a big thing back then. And I looked at it of like the back of the envelope is ponies leased for 1/3 of their value a year. I was like, well, in 3 years, I could still own her and have the money. Leasing is a lot more complicated than that. We learned, so many things like, you want them with a great trainer and in great care, of course, but on our first lease, 2 weeks into the lease, the people got kicked out of the barn.
Oh no.
And didn't tell us. And then we didn't, again, just, it wasn't in writing. It wasn't in the contract that they had to approve the next barn. All these things you learn along the way that you'll never make that mistake again.
Sure.
So, it was a little bump and go in the beginning. And then she started being a really good pony and getting a reputation, and continuing to get leases. And I actually still own her to this day.
Very cool.
And she kind of goes around as people need her. She's at a lovely barn right now, where unfortunately they had a barn fire and lost a lot of their animals. And so she's there, hanging out and making people smile and helping them put their business back together. I think she is 23 this year.
So she's a therapy horse as well.
Yep. Very and cool. She's always been a therapy horse for me too.
Awesome.
My mom was in the World Trade Center on September 11th.
Oh, wow.
So she was there with me the whole time, when we were waiting to hear and all that kind of stuff. So she's really special. And then as I got through grad school, I was like, horses make you stupid. I was like, oh, I can do this again. I'm such a genius. So I decided to get another lease pony. And I learned a lot really quickly. And I ended up getting a few more. And again, it was touch and go in the beginning. I mean, I think there are many moments it could have sunk us, but somehow held on and slowly built something up. And at times I've had as many as 16 or 17 ponies right now. The market's pretty strong, and I don't have as many, but it's been great to be out there and be part of the community and what people are looking for and how that all shifts over time, and being part of the young animals. And one of the things I think is really cool is I've bred a couple here, and everyone tells me, oh, you need to buy them in Europe. You can't afford to do it here. And we figured out ways, my business partner in the ponies, Emily Ellick, and I, and she is the trainer, and she does all the hard pony stuff, but together we've strategized ways to bring the pony market all the way to fruition in the US, which I think is awesome because when you're breeding here, you're supporting everyone. You are supporting the vets, you are supporting the farriers, you're growing your people when they're in the US their whole lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so cool that you do that. And what you said about the therapy horse too, I think that's another area that we could really, as an industry, do better in. There's so many families that are going through something that's not great, but there's a horse out there that would be perfect for them to make them kind of get away for 5 or 10 minutes or an hour a day, and just enjoy that horse.
Absolutely. I think people get so wrapped up in themselves and the people around them, and it's sometimes the people around you are so much more exhausting than you are to yourself, and the horses just make you stop. You can't play on your phone, you can't you have to I think it comes back to that procrastinating part. Like, you have to go in and get stuff done at the barn. They need something too, and it's just a completely different relationship. And I think so many people feel unable to stop in today's world, and the horses kind of force them to get off the screen and live with themselves a little bit.
I think it's so great. It's medicine for me. They force you to focus on them, but once you do it just for a minute, then you don't want to stop. It's just addicting, so that's wonderful. So this is so great, and I hate to cut it, but I know we're running out of time. But so how can people find you as far as the classes or the lease ponies or the Plaid Horse itself?
You can find the Plaid Horse at theplaidhorse.com. All the college stuff launches off of theplaidhorse.com/college. So it's really easy to find there. And you can find the ponies in most issues of the magazine.
That's awesome. And we'll put everything also at the end of the show so everybody can watch it and they can write it down if they didn't get it then.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Piper, thank you so much for being on. Your inspiration. I know people are going to look up to you. I can't wait to get your story out for other people to see and get involved in the industry.
Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye, Piper.
Bye.